Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 31st episode of Live from the Adelphi PAC Living Room. My name is Blythe Thaylong, and I'm the Executive Director at the Adelphi University Performing Arts Center. Thank you so much for choosing to spend some time during this holiday week with Adelphi. Now, while we aren't able to have audiences in person, we are using this show to continue to bring Adelphi's talented students, faculty, staff, alumni, and other guests to you each week. Now, tonight, we're going to take a behind-the-scenes look at the making of one of the pieces from Dance Adelphi that just ended over the weekend with the choreographer and video editor and one of the dancers from the piece. So now to bookend that discussion, we have a couple more performances from recent student recitals to share with you. We shared a couple of those last week, and so we have a couple more to show you this week. Our students in the Department of Music do a lot of recitals and colloquiums and other things that really are just internal to the department, but now that we're virtual, those performances have been recorded, and we've been able to share some of those with you on this show. So here is another of those to kick us off tonight. Enjoy.
Hi, my name is Jay Pyros, and I will be singing Trees on the Mountain from Susanna by Carlisle Floyd. The trees on the mountains are cold and bare, the summer just vanished and left them there like a false-hearted lover, just like my own, who made me love him, then left me alone. The coals on the hearth have turned gray, and see the blue flame just vanished and left him there like a false-hearted lover, just like my own, who made me love him, then left me alone. Come back, oh summer, come back, oh flame. My heart runs on, my baby, your name. Come back, oh just one name. Come back if just for a day. Turn bleak December once more into me. Come back, come back, come back.
Thank you, Jay, for that performance. Much appreciated. And we have one more performance from another student recital to close out the show later this evening. So stick around for that. Now, hopefully, most of you watched our Department of Dance production last week of Fall Dance Adelphi. That ended just this past Saturday. So hopefully, I know we had a lot of people that checked that out. And one of the pieces on the program in particular was very different for us and included some filmed segments, some live dancing, some pieces of that together happening at the same time. So we wanted really to kind of do something a little different on the show this week and talk with some of the people involved in putting that together and give you a little bit of behind the scenes look at that, show you some sections of the video that for the performance were behind the dancers. And so we're going to move some of that up front so you can see that even better than you could as part of the performance. So as we get to all that, it's my pleasure to welcome the choreographer of this piece and one of our faculty members, Adelheid B. Stralick. Adelheid, welcome.
Hi. Evening. Hello. Hi. Thank you, Blake.
How are you?
Good. Yes, this is exciting.
I mean, right? I am happy that we're able to do this and to talk more about this piece and share some of the things that people weren't able to see or may not have even been aware of while just watching the performance. So why don't let's start maybe with you telling us first about sort of your inspiration and what was behind the creation of this piece and what was your start as you went into the semester?
Okay. There were various entry points. One element is that I was working on a senior capstone for Yuche Kao, who is the dancer featured in the video predominantly, especially in that one middle section, the duet. And in the spring, we were supposed to do her senior capstone, and that never came about. And so I was like, okay, we're going to do a senior capstone for her in the fall. And originally I had this idea of endurance dance and her engaging with people she's never worked with and a 40-minute piece and being strenuous and sort of what women go through or what people in general need to go through, just endurance and her having to constantly do the same thing again and again and see the effort and energy in that. And so then I thought, oh, we can't do any of that. We can't do partnering. We can't have all these weird people on stage that have never been in the space. And so all that can't happen. And then all of a sudden, Carly Lund also needed a senior capstone project. So I was like, okay, let's kind of combine these two. But the artistic idea or the element that sort of connects all these points in the red thread for everything was just everything we were going through, COVID and the social injustices, the Black Lives Matter movement, and everything that was sort of just happening and out in the news, and you couldn't ignore it. It was out there. And I also started wondering about my role in things and my place as a white woman, a privileged white woman, and sort of how do I deal with this, and looking at my curriculum and looking at my classes. And so the whole summer and spring, you're just dealing with all of that. And I always thought, how do you bring this into the ballet class or into the classrooms, and how do I bring this into my classes? And so I always look at choreography as, especially at university here with us, with our students, sort of as a opportunity to learn and grow and to use it as a movement lab. So it becomes the process is important and not just the final goal. And I give my students in my comp class all these exercises and crazy things they must do, chant systems, and do things like the postmodernists do. And sometimes I like to take that as an initiative for myself. So if I make my students do this, how is it if I do this? So I thought, I made my students do a film in the spring. what if I were to do a film, and how do I get a student that's all the way in Taiwan and do her senior capstone? So it's
Right.
all these elements coming together and sort of opening up the rehearsal space as a place for conversation to sort of talk about our place in society and my place in society, have our students contemplate about this and sort of have open up that discussion that maybe can't take place in the ballet classroom, and sort of just talk about things. And I had a need for that, and I thought our students would have a need for that. So it sort of started off with this idea of endurance, of standing, this idea of, we have a gesture called the BIPOC gesture. And I remember this once Jon Stewart said, oh, a black man in America cannot walk, he cannot run, he cannot stand, he cannot drive a car, he can't put his hands in his pockets, he can't put his hands outside his pockets, can't wear a hoodie. And it was like, at what point? And we reached sort of that point where it's that's what's happening now, is just what can you do, what can you not do? And so I was looking at that, looking also at I have a room full of women, and sort of looking at what they're dealing with in their lives and what must they endure and go through. And so we had all these discussions, and also sort of RBG just died, passed away. So basically just started our rehearsal after her death, looking at that, and Supreme Court Justice Coney Barrett going in, and I sort of looked at that and what does that mean for people's rights and different groups. And so it came out of that, dealing with all of these things that were happening, and having that discussion of standing, endurance, stripping away of things. And sorry, a lot. Yeah, there's a lot there.
Yeah. No, I got you.
There's a lot there.
And I think that all those pieces kind of lead into what the first video that we're going to share, that is sort of, you then reached out to the dancers and you had them, because obviously, you know, some of your dancers are not even in the country, but many of them were going to be working a lot from home and not necessarily in the studio. So rather than do an in-person audition, you stuck with this video idea, but you had them do something a little more creative than just a standard dance audition. So tell us what you asked them to do, and then we're going to look at what one of the students submitted.
Yeah, I guess having these conversations also, within colleagues, and just who's in the room and how do you address who's in the room, who's excluded from the room, and looking at the space you're working with and dealing with that. I sort of tried to have this idea of how do you use the space, how do you occupy the space that you are in, and sort of this idea that sometimes maybe I occupy too much of a space. Or some people do not occupy enough of a space. So I made it very vague. A lot of people did not like that. And it was just sort of, okay, I want you to contemplate, you must film yourselves. What is movement? What can movement be? And how do you occupy the space with that? And I was not looking for pirouettes or jumps. I was more interested in their artistic eye and what do they perceive as movement, and what is movement, and how they chose to capture that. And so they all sent in their video auditions, and I was looking for those that had an interesting voice and a creative vision of what movement could be. And one of those was Marley. So yes, if you could play that, that'd be fantastic.
Great. So let's watch Marley's audition video that she sent you, that then got her more involved in this project, and we'll bring her in a second to talk about the things that come next. So here is Marley's audition video. So I think we can definitely see there the creativity that is obviously not your typical dance audition video. I think everyone who has seen the piece also can see a lot of things that wound up making their way into the video of the performance as well, and the kind of ideas and the cutting and the that sort of thing, right?
Mhm. Yeah, I saw that and I was like, that's what I want. I was like, Marley, yes, you are my assistant. You want to be in my piece. You want to be my assistant. You want to be my editor. And she was, yeah, I mean, you can ask her herself. She works like this. Her brain thinks like this. And it's exciting to be in the room, in space with her. And I love the collaboration. I was looking for that with every single person I was working with, that they all contribute and bring something. Just like the composer, Carson Moody, it was this wonderful collaboration that just happened and bouncing ideas off, and it's a beautiful space. I love the process. Sometimes I feel people always just work towards a goal, and I feel the process is such a beautiful space, and it needs to be rewarding and exciting. This one was logistically very, very challenging with lots of components. So the good collaborators,
Sure,
and
of course,
all their time and effort was very, very valuable.
Well, and I mean, and with so many moving parts, and again, one of your dancers being on the other side of the earth, basically, and all the logistical challenge that proposed. But I think let's bring Marley in and add her into the conversation. Who's here? Marley, hello.
Hi.
Thank you so much for joining us. I'm thrilled to have you here. Is there anything before we move on from the audition process? Is there anything you want to tell us about that video and what your thoughts were in putting that together when you sent that over to Adelaide?
Adelaide did keep the prompting for it very, very vague. So it was basically just about like kind of exploring space. And I had just been quarantined in my apartment for like 2 weeks. So it was space that I was fortunately very, very familiar with. And I had kind of just been staring at that picture on my wall for a while. And I kind of just took the idea and then ran with it and tried to explore that space that was already present in my life.
That's fantastic, and I think a great way to sort of use, obviously use your surroundings, use the situation you're in to bring something into your artwork, and also then had such a great connection to what was going on in Adelaide's head and where she was headed with this. So I think it was a great collaboration just even before you actually started collaborating to move forward on this. And so then you actually became the video editor for this project as well. I think you're, in addition to being one of the dancers in a lot of the film pieces and helping Adelaide with the rehearsal process and all those things. So you had a stack of roles to play in this one. So I congratulate you on all the work that you did there before we even start to talk about it. So we've talked about this a little. So the rehearsal process for this, because obviously the main, there's sort of 3 sections of this piece. There are some group dancing in video, and then there's a duet in the center of the piece, and then some more group dancing at the end. So I think let's maybe talk through the piece, and then we'll talk through Adelaide those first couple pieces of the video, and then before we do talk about the duet, we'll show the rehearsal stuff then. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And
so let's so Marley and Adelaide, please let's talk about, so the video is multiple dancers in various locations around wherever it is they happen to be. And so tell us sort of what this first section of the video that we're going to see in a second is about, or do you want to watch it first? Your call.
Maybe watch it first.
Okay, great.
Yeah,
so
okay.
So let's start with some of the. So now this actually played on screen. Everyone was watching this. We had the piece going, and we cut away from the dancers in the theater so that folks could just watch this part of the video as the beginning. So this is the start of the video that you put together, Marley. So that's the beginning of the piece. That sort of sets things up. Now, how many people were actually involved in this? How many different dancers were there throughout that video?
Well, there's a total of 10 dancers, but one is never seen in the video. Carly Lund is only on stage, so she lives only on stage. Yuche lives in multiple ways, so to say. She's throughout all 3 sections, and then the other 8 dancers live mostly in the videos. Yeah.
Okay, great. And so Marley, how did this all work? Did you have certain things that you gave everyone to do? How was that process started out? I mean, obviously they had some direction because you see a lot of them are doing the same movements and things like that. So how did this come together, and what was sort of the idea between this first section of the video?
So we worked with Adelphi on Zoom to collaborate and all work together to generate movement material. And we actually had, I think, around 5 base phrases that all came from different places in our own individual explorations and gestures from our own research that Adelphi was having us do into social movements and things that were going on in the world. And then Adelphi would kind of bring it all together and build all of our different homework and research into phrases. And so we would all learn and work on those phrases together. And then there was around 2 weekends where we took everyone out, and then Yuche in Taiwan went out individually on her own and basically filmed all of these different phrases in different locations for every single person. And it was about exploring kind of the space that was around us, and where do we see dancers and where do we see women and where do we not see them, and what is it like to take up space and what is it like to occupy the space was a lot of what we were trying to explore. So finding the space that was around us.
Right. And I think that sort of then leads into the transition into the next segment that we're going to watch, where you start to introduce more of an environment and other people and other things going on. Because in that first section, everybody's kind of isolated and you don't really see a lot of other activity around them. But then you start to incorporate that. Right, Adelaide, do you want to talk about that and sort of the progression in the video?
Yeah, the music also builds. So we have this soundscape, and it's just beautiful sounds and sort of a bit eerie. And then you start to pick up musically, things start to happen. And then you start to build also with the phrase work that gets seen. We also go into so you see a little bit more of the phrases that Marty was mentioning. And some of it, there's like the narcissistic phrase that you see, there's the woman's phrase. And so those elements start to be slowly introduced. We also see the element of the stripping away of the clothing that's coming off of the one dancer. So all these things, there's also the introduction of the endurance elements and those things of what is being tolerated. So there's the tolerance, the endurance, the standing elements that they sort of just get more clearly introduced in the next part. Yeah.
Okay, so let's look at a little piece of. So there's some gaps in this. We're not showing the whole piece, but we're going to kind of go into the next segment, and let me get that queued up here, and we will watch a little bit of this next segment before we get into the duet that's in the middle of the piece. So that is a little a taste of that segment and a little more of those pieces. So, and anything you want to talk more about that, and then let's maybe talk about how we transition from that and seeing all these different dancers in all these different places into the duet that's at the center of the piece.
You want to take that on, Marty?
Sure. So you can see it a little bit in that last excerpt that we played, but there's this clip of Yucha standing that was actually the base point for the entire video. So it is a 40-minute long clip of her standing in one location. So as Adelheid mentioned earlier, it really was this endurance test of how long can you do something. And for Yucha, we asked her, how long can you stand in one place for without moving? How long can you be in one location? And she ended up sending us a 40-minute long clip, which is actually the basis over which everything is edited on top of. And it's actually sped up so that you can see the full length of her standing and all of the effect it has on her body. And from that point, you also have, I know we were discussing in times of COVID, things that we can't do and things that are not there. So there's also this endurance of Yucha touching her face that you'll see later, which got us into the duet. And then with the duet, it was based on the phrase work, and Adelheid can talk more about the creation of that process with Yucha and Harley.
Great. So yeah, so as I think we've mentioned, Yuche is in Taiwan during all of this. So to coordinate those rehearsals, especially for a duet, is particularly challenging. Even just the sheer fact that one of them is going to be on video and one of them is going to be live in the room is one thing, but to add such distance and time differences and all those things into the mix, let's before we talk about this, maybe let's show a little bit of footage from rehearsal. So a lot of this, as mentioned, was done on Zoom, happened in various ways, and here is a little bit of where we are seeing you guys. We've got somebody in the booth, and you've got folks on stage, and then again, and you've got her back in Taiwan. So I'm gonna step out and we'll watch a little bit of this, and then we'll come back.
It's almost like you're cutting her head off, or like you're pointing to her. All right, so it's just, so you come up here, sorry, it's upload? Yeah, it should have uploaded, okay. So you come up to here, and I want you to just change your focus to her.
Which part is this?
It's in the last section, right? Yeah. Over here, where is this coming from? Yeah.
This thing, make it, and you're going into this,
Into that,
around
yeah.
the back.
It's before the back, that part, yes. And so when you put out your hand, I want you to really, so you come upright. You're the only one moving, and I want you to look at her. So it just means, yes. And if you can do me a favor, instead of having it to the side, have it a little bit more diagonal, 45 degrees. Yes. Yeah, exactly. All right, and just, so you come there, here, and just go, yes, like you, Cardi, down there. All right, just a moment. Yes, it can be a hair longer, just a hair longer. A little bit longer, yeah. So come from the first position, get into first position. Into first, head, and then move, yeah. It can be a hair shorter than that, sorry. in between, one, again. See if we get it this time, okay. Up, and then go. Yes, that's right, okay.
Right. So, and what I think is so great is that, you also have her on the screen behind, because obviously the spacing of where she is in the room is important, as well as watching her choreography off to the side and just seeing the exact movement she's doing. So that's why we, luckily we were able to get you extra time in the theater and with the technology to make all that work. And so that then, Marley, you could also go back and recut things and move things around as needed. So So tell us a little more about the creation of this duet, and then we're actually going to watch Yuche's part of the duet just by herself, because in the piece you see that in the background on the screen, but we really wanted to give people a really good sense of what that piece was, what it looked like with her. But lead us into how we transition from the group dancing into this duet.
So I always like to use some sort of a piece. Like I said, the process is important. I like to use it as a place where students can investigate things. And my last piece, we looked at Cunningham's Summer Space. And one inspiration for this piece was Trisha Brown. And it was Solos Olos, and where she gave instructions to people and they had tasks. And in one way, sort of looking at what's happening with Black Lives Matters and with George Floyd and the whole, don't need to go there, but it's like there are rules, there's instructions, and certain people choose to do them this way and some people choose to do them that way. So that's where we are, and it's how do you interpret a task, how you interpret a rule. And so we sort of started off playing with this idea of tasks from Trisha Brown herself out of this piece, and then we modified them in a certain way. She also has this, she has this cube where she has every single spot on a cube is associated with a letter. And so I took, lots of layers, taking phrase work, looking at the dancers picked out and one of their favorite words that they came up with associated with the women's phrase, associated with the BIPOC phrase. And so, they're all doing this research. They come up with their own little word, and then they have to basically, each one individually took the main narcissist phrase and had to figure out where in the Trisha Brown alphabet cube can they now figure out how to do these movements. So it's phrase work that's already been seen, but so modified and further developed and taken apart. And I wanted them to, so there's a connection. They all come from the same root, but they're modifying it and taking their own twist and own unique approach to things. And so if it's two people still in the same continent, or two people still speaking the same language, but with different accents. And so in one way, these are two people on two different continents, but they speak the same language and they're sort of connecting, but they're not. And that's how things are right now at the moment. We are somehow connecting, trying to move ahead, but we're not. We're going back in time, trying to progress. So we're trying to get there, but sometimes things are off. And there's that one little moment in the middle of the whole duet where they are synchronized. And in one way, it was set up that Yuche, sort of like Carly's shadow, you see her right behind her. So at least on film, not so much in the theater, they really are synchronized. They move together. And I always believe the audience needs to see something that just happens together, and that brain just needs to be happy for a moment, and not
right.
Chaos. Yeah. So, just ease the brain, let it relax, enjoy just these two beautiful dancers moving together. And then they separate again, because things are not quite great at the moment. So we're trying to get there. We're trying to solve these problems, and we're having conversations. We're working about things, but there's still, policies, administrations, things that need to happen that are sort of in the way. So, and then things from there just morph, and that becomes section 3.
There is also a really large element of chance in the process of creating the video. So I know from my end, I wouldn't see that anything. Yucha and I would have conversations with Adelheid about how she should film stuff and how she should set up shots, but we wouldn't see anything until it was uploaded into the drive. So lots of elements of it were chance, and we had no idea how the video was going to end up looking on the projector with this new shot and the new spacing. So there was a lot of experimentation and just trying things. So we tried it with just Carly on stage, and we were really struggling with this idea of how does the video and the dancer both have power and both have weight, and how are they both able to be seen without one outdoing the other, and what does that look like in this new day of age where dance on film is becoming just as prevalent as live performance?
Sure, that's great, and I think that I think you're right. You always love those moments where things come together and you see that, like, oh, this is actually a plan. There is something, and so that it makes the other parts then work a little better too. That, like, oh, this isn't just running around in chaos. It is part of a bigger picture, right? Yeah. So anything else you want to say about this? And then before we head into this duet that we're going to see just one side of?
Well, maybe not necessarily just in association with the duet, but in general, I love this idea of what is movement, and that it doesn't always have to be a grand battement, a pirouette. And early on when we got together with Marty, I was showing her, look, I have this video of flocking pigeons. And I don't know, I was just filming, just like gathering ideas over summer, just waves in this little park in Prospect Park, and just look at the waves and how they move. And I kept showing her things of animals and highways and just shadows of cars on highways. And so what is movement? What do we understand? What do we want to see? And she just beautifully translated. And some of my favorite parts of this whole video are like the little poodle and the dog jumping into the water and the birds flying, and how those things just happened and they were not planned and they just happened, and acknowledging those moments, and acknowledging that movement is this larger concept, that ballet does not only rule everything, and there's a space for all these different bodies to do different things. And so I just love that we start off this video, and she starts it off and beautifully edited, that we just see spaces and who's occupying them, who's not occupying them, and just letting them speak for themselves. So yes, but in regards to the video, it's I guess it's also nice for if people saw the performance, they just get to see now Yuche also fully just by herself, and yeah, but otherwise they do have to share the space, the two of them in a duet. So I guess it's a duet just with Yuche right now.
That's great. I'm happy that we're able to share this in a way, and give a little more weight and to her performance, and see a little more that she did, and the work that you did on this section too, Marley. So here is that center section of your piece. Excellent, great work all around, and especially since again she just filmed that on her own. Obviously, you worked on the choreography, you put everything together, but then she filmed that on her own during the day because, of course, that's the middle of the night for us, I believe, and so and then you're right, Marley, you just got the video and then worked on it from there. So that's it's really great, and I think also Adelaide a nice time to remind you mentioned him already, but or her, but you're a composer that yeah person, right?
Carson Moody, who works for us at Adelphi, and we're so lucky to have him. So this is just really, I guess sometimes you could say COVID is this horrible situation. We read about it in the news, and in one way, this is something beautiful that has come out of COVID. Sort of me forcing myself to do a movie, then because of that, then having the opportunity to have these beautiful collaborations with Marty, with Carson, with the dancers, and just thinking about Yu Che being all the way out in Taiwan, working at 2 o'clock in the morning for her time. And I'm just so grateful and that these dancers, every one of them went out in their own free time, took all safety precautions, hopefully, wearing their masks and just being safe out there and the best they can. They have work, they have lives, they have homework, academics, and other rehearsals, and they went out on their free weekend. We had to organize the costumes in advance, had to send the costume to Yuche, had to buy her a tripod and send things. So this is all just logistics, and everyone went out and and I'm just grateful they worked so hard and put that much effort in, because that's outside of the rehearsal time. So I'm lucky, we're lucky to have such people with us.
Right, and like you said, most of them were also in other pieces in Dance Adelphi, because it's like, oh, you're just on film for this one, so we can put you in something else, and and then their schoolwork and their rehearsals all day and their classes all day, and working on pieces for Dance Showcase and all kinds of things. So I think it's remarkable the amount of work and effort that goes into something like this, even above and beyond what everyone is used to for a normal dance piece. It's really great, and the fact you got to work with Carson and he was able to compose some original music for us, and for the dancers to be able to have that experience, and everybody to really work through that has been great. So now we've got a couple more little pieces of the third section of the dance to talk about, and so I want to talk about just sort of the transition out of that duet and then back into the world of video and what we're seeing on the video, and lead us into this third segment and how things change.
The third section I know is where we talk a lot about the endurance, and it is also where a lot of our gesture phrases live. So I know editing wise for that section, I knew that I wanted it to be very quick paced, and we had talked about feeling the intensity, and to feel the intensity of the endurance for me when I was discovering it. And then the music that Carson ended up making was this very beautiful, intense, fast paced, really kind of chaotic, crazy soundscape, and it kind of with these also long pulled out, drawn out moments that are also really kind of play off of that endurance idea. So through that, I was able to kind of just discover these quick cuts and that quick pacing that really gives the effect of enduring and going through something very intense.
Great. So let's watch a little section of that, and then we'll come back and talk about it a little more, and then watch the close to the ending piece of it. So here is another sort of warm up, if you will, of that third section of this piece.
Where's Blank?
I'm
There he is.
here. I'm here. Don't worry. I didn't abandon you. I have lots of buttons to click. So that sort of, I mean, you can see that it starts to escalate. We see their movement increase. You hear more of the different sounds, and then you've heard and start into that. So again, tell us a little bit more about that process, and then we'll see another little segment of this as things continue to grow and some of the ideas that are going on here.
Marty?
Well, it was kind of, a lot of this was kind of discovering as we go and finding things as we went. So for the third section, it was kind of just as we were going through stuff and as I was going through the material, it was finding the things that fit in that more intense thing. So some of the things are moments that we see earlier, but with each dancer's own personal interpretation of the tasks. And during the filming, there were moments that kind of just naturally more gravitated towards the third section and more intensity and all of those moments. So it was kind of found through the edit and through the process of filming and research, we were able to kind of discover the video through that. And that third section was kind of based on Adelhide's kind of cueing and the narrative that she had kind of built within the piece, and that both of us worked kind of together with Carson and all of the other dancers to discover. And also just a big shout out to the technical crew who made sure that like particularly Gabe made sure that the process of streaming it and all of the different elements were able to fully come together for the live performance.
Yeah, absolutely. There were a lot of extra layers to have a video that we wanted people to see clearly at home for sections, but then at other times needed to be projected in the theater with people interacting with it in various ways, and then going back and forth between the two. So yeah, Gabe and his whole team have been doing remarkable work the last couple of months on but this and all of our other live streaming that is not a thing that we do, but now here we are in this world, and like all of you guys are figuring it out, and it's getting better every time we do it, and the more you explore, the more you're able to find out and figure out and just get better and better. So I think as we go here, let's maybe lead up into this final section of the video that we're going to watch, and that what's leading there, and then we'll watch one last little piece of this and wrap up our conversation.
Yeah, so that last portion, what I greatly appreciate is that the music, as Marty was mentioning, has all that. It just keeps on going, that rhythm, that pace just keeps building. And I was just so grateful she was able to edit it in that manner, and the things, it just gets very, very intense, and not how you say, I wanted it to be sort of uncomfortable for the audience. I wanted it to be that it gets disturbing to a certain degree, that it is uncomfortable, disturbing, and there's those moments that you'll see. I always kept saying, I want Alyssa and water. I want Alyssa and water, Alyssa Harris. And they sent me all these beautiful videos and drafts. Oh my God, they sent me so many beautiful things that nobody will ever see, but they're in showers and taking off clothes, and they're wet and with makeup on, and crazy things, and just throwing water at them. And we found this beautiful moment, and Marty has Alyssa in water, just getting splashed to this point where, like, how much can you take in that endurance? And that's always that moment. It's like, oh my God, that was just one too many. And that's where this wanted to go, and just sort of leave that audience with that idea of how much do we have to do of this? How much longer will this be? When will there finally, be normalcy? I don't know. So, but we're working towards that.
Yeah, great. So let's watch this one last section of this video, and we'll be back in a second. I hit the wrong button too quickly. Sorry about that. So you can see things continue to escalate and then transition into the end and go on with that. Is there so thank you both so much for taking the time to do this. I think it's it's a very different thing than what we usually do on here, but I think there was just so much work that went into this in so many different ways, and not all of it in any way that you would see or even know without having this conversation. So thank you both for taking the time to do that and for all the work that you and all the dancers and everybody put into this. Any last things that you want to let us know about this piece or the process before we go?
I know I want to put out a shout out also to the dancers that every night just stood on stage for 15 minutes and sort of did a Buto-esque endurance meditative stance, or however you want to call it. They stood there for 15 minutes, and yeah, not the easiest thing. The hardest thing to do as a dancer is stand, walk, run. So yeah. So I'm just so grateful for everyone and everyone involved, from tech crew to on camera, on stage, behind stage, filmers, people that were the camera people for this. So just really, really grateful to everyone. Yeah.
I also just want to say a big thank you to Adelheid on behalf of the dancers. I know for all of us, especially at like an academic institution, it's really a rehearsal process where we are able to collaborate and we are given an equal voice that is valued. And Adelheid is always very open to listening to all of our ideas and giving us the opportunity to create and collaborate equally with her. So I know as a dancer that is a really, really wonderful experience to get, especially in just in general, to have your voice heard and put out there as a woman is like, it's a really great experience to be able to have, and a really great opportunity that I know Adelheid provides to all of us as dancers and as students in the space.
It's fantastic. And we're those of us who are lucky enough to be here for more than just 4 years and get to see a lot of work that Adelheid puts on the stage. It is really always a treat to see what she's going to throw at us this time and how many phone calls or emails I'm going to get about the latest crazy idea she has to give all of you those opportunities and to really stretch everybody and really what everyone's doing. So yeah, it's a real treat, and this was another great piece of work, and especially using the circumstances that we're under as a way to just force your creativity in a different direction. So I think that's really fantastic to see for everybody.
Thank you, Blythe, for making this happen. That's
absolutely.
Really,
I'm thrilled to have you on. And thank you both again for taking the time to be here. And I will I probably won't see either one of you again in real life until the end of January. So enjoy your break and the last few weeks of classes remotely, and we'll see you again soon. I'm looking forward to what you guys are doing next.
Thank you, Blythe.
All right. Thanks, you guys. Good to see you.
Thank you very much.
And thank you, everyone, for watching once again this week. It is the start of Thanksgiving week, and I appreciate everyone who took the time to be here. We have one more little performance to close out the show tonight, but please, thank you once again, everyone, for joining us. Thank you for being here and watching. Thank you to our two guests tonight and sharing their experiences with this Dance Adelphi that just finished. We have a ton of great performances still to come this semester. We're mercifully taking a break for the next week or so, but then once December rolls around, we start back up with a lot of music performances, some more live concerts from the concert hall, some theater performances, our annual Christmas Carol reading that will be happening virtually, and all kinds of things. So do visit our website and check out what we have coming up after you are done celebrating Thanksgiving. Please, everyone, stay safe, stay healthy during this break, And I look forward to seeing you all again next week. And so now here is one more performance from one of our Department of Music students and one of their student recitals. Thank you all again.
Don't know why there's no sun up in the sky, stormy weather. Since my man and I ain't together, keeps raining all the time. Life is bare, glooming misery everywhere, stormy weather. Just can't get my poor self together. I'm weary all the time, so weary all the time. When he went away, the blues walked in and met me. If he stays away, old rocking chair will get me. All I do is pray the Lord above will let me walk through the sun once more. Can't go on, everything I had is gone, stormy weather. Since my man and I ain't together, keeps raining all the time. Keep raining all the time. I walk around heavy-hearted and sad. Night comes around and I'm still feeling bad. Rain pouring down, blinding every hope I had. This pittering, pattering, beating and splattering drives me mad. Love, 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 love. This misery is just too much for me. Can't go on. Everything I had is gone, stormy weather. Since my man and I ain't together, keeps raining all the time. Keep raining all the time.